Folks, you know, it is D-Man or Dylan, however the hell you want to call me. And right now I'm actually here at the Tucson Historic Courthouse. Now, it's not an active courthouse, but it's more like a museum. But this building right behind me was the original courthouse of Tucson or Pima County. So, and the meaning of this video, as you see in the title of this video, this is going to be a little on Wyatt Earp history and also some of the history of Tombstone a little bit, and just Wyatt Earp in general. And if you guys don't know this, Wyatt Earp is like one of my favorite figures of the Wild West. I mean, just his story, the legend of, just the legendary story of Wyatt Earp. And that's kind of why I'm kind of dressed up like this a little bit. Although I kind of say it's more like a Doc Holliday and Morgan Earp kind of look. But Wyatt Earp has always been one of my favorite key figures of the Old West, especially here in Arizona. You know, from Tombstone, Pima County. And I actually have a little bit of a family lineage or family history with Wyatt Earp. And I'll get that to in a little bit in the video. But right now let's just check out the Pima County Old Historic Courthouse, because there is a little bit of history with Wyatt Earp. And if you guys don't know this, so Wyatt Earp, before he headed out to Tombstone as one of the marshals over in Tombstone. He was at first a marshal here in Pima County, and this is probably like one of the buildings where he was definitely at when he was getting signed in as a marshal for Pima County. And let's just check out something and see what's what. All right, and I'll catch you guys in a little bit. We are here in the Old Historic Courthouse, and there's a lot of neat history about this place. And well, obviously Arizona was a territory around when Wyatt Earp was here, but yeah, it's really cool. Now obviously this is not converted into a museum, but there's a lot of neat historic things when it comes to the Old Historic Courthouse. From John Dillinger, like his trial was actually going to be in the room just right in front of me. Let's see, let me get the camera. Behind those doors is actually where Dillinger and even Johnny Depp had trial in, but a little cool Tucson history was that Dillinger was caught here at the Hotel Congress. Everybody knows who John Dillinger is. Very infamous gangster of the 20s and 30s. And he was sent to trial here, and right behind these doors is the courtroom. And also this is where Johnny Depp had some affiliated issues, like here at this courthouse. And yeah, he also had his trial in here through a drug charge. But yeah, this is where Dillinger had his trial. Even though this is not about Wyatt Earp, but I still think it's pretty cool. Little cool gangster and very infamous gangster history. So yeah, it's pretty neat, I have to say. And what's going? Because they're always open for. Oh, I guess it's locked right there. Because the last time I came in here, it was open. It is open. So yeah.
Hello.
Hi. I'm just doing a little videoing, so that's all right.
Oh, yeah. I closed the blinds so it's a little dark.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're good. But yeah, we're actually here in the courtroom where Dillinger's trial began. And sorry if it's dark in here, but it still stays a pretty cool, neat area. Oh, she's going to turn on the lights for me. Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, we're having issues with lighting.
Oh, perfect. But yeah, this is pretty cool. And also Johnny Depp had his trial in here, correct?
Yes.
Alrighty. But yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, this is the courtroom. So yeah, pretty neat, I say. That was actually really neat of that lady to open the blinds for me for that. But anyway, speaking of Wyatt Earp, you know, right here, and I'm going to reverse the camera because I can't really do this on this phone at the moment. But right here, this is, you know, about Wyatt Earp. He was, you know, of course, a little brief history of the movie. Wyatt Earp right there as the famous lawman, and him as an old man. So pretty cool. of course, he has a lot of cool things about, with Wyatt Earp in Hollywood as well. Working with, or actually like showing even John Wayne some of the ends and ropes about what it was like in the Wild West. So I always thought that was always really cool. Anyway, as we move over here, and the lady was saying, and I've been to this place before, and it's really cool. And I'll show the camera right here. So right behind this like glass I'm actually about to show you, this is the actual document of when Wyatt Earp was going to be deputized as the marshal here in Pima County in Tucson, and also his resignation letter, which I think that's really cool. So this is the document right here of when he was going to be deputized, and this is his resignation letter of Pima, just right before he went to Tombstone. And right here, and I'm going to go to his grave in a little bit, is John Behan, the first sheriff of Cochise County. And I'll get to Behan in a little bit once we get to his grave. But this is his deputized or appointment document, which I think is really fascinating. And just a little Wyatt Earp. And these are just so well good condition. I mean, look at that. This is like his signature right here. I think that's just extremely cool, honestly. So yeah, a little bit of neat history on this place. Just shows to you of the really cool, deep, in depth of history of Wyatt Earp and Tombstone, and this also gives a very brief history of him. So yeah, I think that's very, very fascinating. Because it says here, in 1880, Pima County Sheriff Charles Shibell appointed Wyatt Earp deputy sheriff on July 27, 1880. So this was like a year or so before everything that happened in Tombstone. All the history of Tucson, and I think that's really interesting about that. So Shibell was reelected on the 2nd of 1880, supported by the Cowboys, which was they're like the gangsters and the organized crime of Arizona Territory, especially between Tucson and Tombstone. And so it was saying that the Cowboys, an outlaw gang that reportedly gathered ineligible voters such as children, Chinese railroad workers, dogs, different kinds of animals, and then cast ballots in their names for Shibell. Wyatt Earp supported Shibell's opponent and resigned as deputy sheriff. Sorry, terrible at reading stuff. A week after, and it says a week after the sheriff's win, in retaliation, he actually appointed Earp's antagonist, John Behan, the sheriff, or who would be the sheriff of Cochise. And of course that's like a really good brief history of that whole situation. And of course, as you know, the whole OK CORRAL and all that. And actually we're going to be stepping into another cool location here in a little bit, just on that whole brief thing. And so stay tuned. But look at all the little history on this. It's just very diverse in history, and I think it's really cool. This talks about Johnny Depp's trial here in 1991 for a drug charge or so. So and believe it or not, he was actually playing John Dillinger when he was here in Tucson. So I think that's kind of very, very unique about that, and very I kind of would call it a Twilight Zone kind of thing, because he played Dillinger, and behind these doors right here, as I just showed you, that's where Dillinger was tried at, and also where Johnny Depp was. So I think that's very fascinating. So and also here's the brief history of Dillinger with the Hotel Congress, which I'll stop by there in a little bit, just to show a brief history on that. And his wanted poster, and I think it's very interesting. And there's Dillinger himself at the trial stand, and So let's go to our next destination. All right, I'm having fun with this. I love history, especially the Wild West, and gangsters and all that. So yeah, cool placard of the brief history of the building, and very interesting, I say, of how they designed this building. Now, the building right behind me, guys, so you remember I was talking about John Dillinger at the courthouse and where he was arrested at by the feds? Well, this is the building right here, right behind me. The famous Hotel Congress, and you can still stay there. It's really, never stayed there before, but I heard it's really cool. But right here is Hotel Congress. This is the place where Dillinger was caught by the feds. Ooh. And of course was later tried over at the courthouse, the historic courthouse we were just at. So I think that's really cool. This is where it all happened, and yeah. And this is kind of also the area where John Depp was pulled over, so kind of weird coincidence. So yeah, and just right across from me is the train station, so we'll be hitting that here in a sec. But yeah, this is it. And they do reenactments about that historic day when Dillinger was caught, so may have to check it out sometime. So, see you in a little bit. I'm gonna go to the train station, and not from like Yellowstone train station. All right, dig it. Right here, guys, where I'm at standing is where it all happened with the whole train station incident between Wyatt Earp and Frank Stillwell and a couple other cowboys with Ike Clanton and everything. So if you guys remember the movie, and this actually did happen. So after the assassination of Morgan Earp over in one of the saloons in Tombstone, and also the wounding of Virgil Earp. So after Virgil gets wounded, and also like from an assassination attempt after the OK CORRAL shootout, and just right before he was about to head to Tucson to get out of here and be sent to California or whatever, and later on, or sometime like just briefly on, Morgan Earp gets assassinated in Tombstone, and it was believed that it was Frank Stillwell that was the one that led it and the one that killed him. And so they were transporting Virgil and Morgan's body out of here at the historic train station where I'm at right now. There was so Frank Stillwell, Ike Clanton, they both plotted. They had a plot to ambush Virgil while he was on the train, and also a little bit of Wyatt Earp. Well, Wyatt Earp kind of finds out about it, and this is right before he forms the whole posse with the Wyatt Earp's Ride for Vengeance. Sorry, I'm shaky. I'm holding it with my hand, so it's kind of difficult. But right before that happened, and right when Ike Clanton and Frank Stillwell were going to ambush the Earps, so Wyatt Earp kind of apprehended them, and Wyatt ends up killing Frank Stillwell with a shotgun. And he basically told Ike Clanton, because Ike Clanton was kind of a coward, was a coward, and pretty much saying, hey, I'm coming after for you guys, so, and hell's gonna come with me with it. So yeah, so all that shootout happened here at this, or roughly around this spot. So yeah, and here's the statues of Wyatt and Doc. So yeah, I just have to stand over here. It's pretty cool, huh? How's it going? So yeah, and it's really cool, like how a lot of the historic stuff just happens here in Tucson. I've really never gone to these places, and yeah, I think it's just very interesting. So yeah, so a lot of the shootout happened right in this area, and or they say it happened in this area. So I don't know where the exact spot is. My guessing is kind of beyond here somewhere. But yeah, this is kind of where that whole incident of Wyatt Earp killing Frank Stillwell right before the vengeance. So yeah, so a little cool history thing for you. There's an old engine right here, steam engine. And I think that's pretty cool. So yeah. So I'll see you guys in a little bit, and I'll see you guys at the cemetery to visit Sheriff John Behan. All right. So yeah, see you in a sec. Yeah, so right now I'm just having a quick sit down, having a beer, and actually here at the hotel, like one of the hotel's bars. And it's really fun. You can just come here, have a beer, maybe a whiskey or something like that, and just drink to history, honestly. So yeah. So, but after this, I'll head to the cemetery, show you guys like where Behan is actually buried at. It's really cool. I've been there. It's very neat, very rich in history. So, and also a little history thing I mentioned. I have like a little family past with the Earps and with Wyatt Earp. So where Wyatt Earp grew up was in a little town called Pella, Iowa. And Pella, Iowa and I've been there, and I got a lot of family history of that town. And so yeah, there's actually a jazz band going to be playing a little bit, so it's pretty cool to see that. But so Pella, Iowa is just like a little small rural town of Iowa, and it's very based on like Dutch culture, because when the Dutch came into the U.S., they kind of all settled in Iowa, and they just kind of made the town of Pella, and it's just a little authentic Dutch American kind of style stuff, and it's really cool. And where Wyatt Earp grew up in was actually in Pella, and with his brothers as well, and with his family. That's where the Earps all grew up in. They weren't born there. They're born in. You guys can leave in the comments where they were born in, but they grew up in Pella, Iowa. And so with Pella, Iowa, so when the town was founded, it was actually was an ancestor of mine. It was actually a great, like probably fourth or fifth great grandfather or something like that. And he was actually one of the first founders of Pella, and he founded kind of around the same time when the Earps moved in. So yeah, so the Earps kind of lived in the same town where some ancestors of mine actually founded. So I think it's really cool, little neat like background history with me and Wyatt Earp, and I just think that's really cool to share about. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit and have this beer and head out to the cemetery, and yeah, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Dig it. Alrighty guys, I'm back at it again. So this grave marker is Sheriff John Harris Behan, and he was the sheriff of Cochise County, and he was the sheriff during the times when pretty much during the OK CORRAL shooting. And if you guys remember during the movie, or if you ever read about the whole OK CORRAL shooting, so the Earp brothers plus Doc Holliday, we're gonna go over and disarm the cowboys near the OK CORRAL, and Sheriff Behan, the Cochise County sheriff of the Arizona Territory, goes up to them, just says, "Oh, don't worry, I disarmed them. You don't have to worry about a thing." And of course, story goes on, and you know, when the boys went over to the OK CORRAL, and of course everybody knows about the shooting of the OK CORRAL, and this guy was kind of more of like a I wouldn't say pacifist, but he was more a supporter of the cowboys. And he is often he's just often as just the guy who really supported the cowboys during that time period and kind of sided for them. And yeah, so yeah, this is his grave marker, so there's a lot of controversy when it comes to him as the sheriff there. And of course, you know, Wyatt Earp and him, they kind of got into it quite a bit though too. But yeah, this is his grave marker. It's pretty cool. So just a little Tombstone history for you. So hope you enjoy this little thing.